Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. This is News First, where the people come first. I'm Mariam Ganavijaya. We start off with a look at the headlines.
Sri Lanka records first T20 win against Australia at home after 11 years. Sri Lanka will have to import crude oil from Russia, Prime Minister says. Quota system to be introduced for fuel sales. Queues for fuel and gas continue. Crackdown on traders selling rice at high rates. Navy captures 5 people fleeing to Australia. Was the CEB chairman pressurized to withdraw his statement at the COP? BJP's cronyism has now crossed Pork Strait and moved into Sri Lanka. Rahul Gandhi levels accusations.
He goes again. Has he got it?
Thanks to a brilliant display of leadership that saw a timely response to guide the home team to victory. Sri Lanka defeated Australia in the third T20 International at home for the first time in 11 years last night. Last night's victory brought smiles among Sri Lankans who have been battered by several issues at present.
With the Sri Lankan batting
And international stories coming up after this short commercial break. Stay tuned to News First. We will be right back.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙමෙයිද දැම්මේ
හදිස්සියට බාල පයිප්පයක් දැම්මේ නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක් හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප්පයක්
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජලනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් ළඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says Sri Lanka might buy more fuel from Russia. He was speaking in an interview with the Associated Press.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has said Sri Lanka would first look into other sources but would be open to buying more crude from Moscow. He had told the Associated Press that Sri Lanka would be willing to accept more financial help from China despite his country's mounting debt.
But we are looking at other sources of oil, fuel that are traditional sources from the Middle East.
I mean, it seems like you still need more fuel, so would you consider?
We will, yes. If we can get from any other sources, we'll get from there. Otherwise, they may have to go to Russia again.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara has spoken about plans to ration the sale of fuel.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says customers will be registered at filling stations and sold fuel under a quota. He said the system will be implemented by the first week of July. The minister said the system will be carried out until there is a continuous supply of fuel and electricity across the country. How does the quota system work? The Minister of Power and Energy says fuel sales will be rationed by giving priority to the transport and industrial sector. Details of the system are to be made public. Attempts to contact Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Uwais Mohammed, were unsuccessful.
What is the current position of Sri Lanka's fuel stocks? The Indian credit line to import fuel is running out as the government plans to limit the sale of fuel. The government has said a diesel cargo will arrive in Sri Lanka next Thursday. The government says Sri Lanka's monthly fuel import bill, which stood at about $200 million 4 months ago, has now gone up to $750 million. We hope that we can resolve the petrol shortage in about 3 days, but there is an issue surrounding diesel. Minister of Power and Energy requests people not to stand in queue for 3 days until fuel is distributed to 1,190 filling stations. There is no issue in diesel supply. The problem is surrounding petrol. Therefore, don't stay in queue. It will take 20 days to resolve this. Government says many suppliers have come forward to sell fuel to Sri Lanka on long-term credit. Long-term tenders yet to be awarded to purchase fuel. Authorities continue to make spot purchases. Software introduced to identify those involved in rackets. And yesterday, Sipetco launches website to indicate fuel availability at filling stations. Today, quota system to be introduced for fuel.
Kanchana Wijesekara said that 2 ships carrying fuel will arrive on the 11th and the 12th, and that a crude oil shipment will arrive on the 20th, a diesel shipment on the 16th, and a petrol shipment on the 21st. Today is the 12th, but no fuel shipment has arrived.
The shortage of cooking gas in Sri Lanka has worsened, leaving people in queues. The country doesn't have $2.5 million to pay for a 3,900 metric ton gas consignment. The shipment had reached Sri Lanka 5 days ago. Sri Lanka's foreign exchange crisis has worsened to the extent that even $2.5 million can't be paid for shipments. However, in the recent months, the government and its ministers had repeatedly insisted that there was no crisis. They said development development projects like the construction of expressways will continue as there are enough dollars and rupees in the country's purse. But today, the shortage of dollars has left people without gas or fuel. What caused this situation? Why didn't authorities make careful decisions when they spent millions of dollars for development projects that are not so important? We report, you decide.
Now, there were long queues for fuel in many areas despite government officials saying that there are enough stocks.
Government officials have remained positive on the country's fuel distribution process and the existing stocks. But there were long queues for fuel in many areas, just like this one in Koswatta in Rajagiriya. Many passenger buses were seen at a filling station in Kurunegala to pump fuel.
රුපියල් 20000ක තෙල් වලට ගියාල ලීටර් 40යි. ලීටර් 40කින් මගට යන්නත් මදි.
පවුලේ 4 දෙනෙක් කරපු විනාශේ තවම ගෙවනවා මේ අහිංසක මිනිස්සු. මේ ඩීසල් පොලිම ඔයයි මා ආය හම්බෙන්නේ හාල් පොලිම.
Only one filling station in the Kalutara town remained open today, but there were long queues for diesel. There was a long queue for petrol at a filling station in Navinna. People have been in queues since last night in Hikkaduwa, Gaul, Polonnaruwa and even Horana.
The shortage of cooking gas in Sri Lanka has also worsened, leaving people in queues.
For almost a week, people in Kadana have been in queues to buy gas. In Gaul, there were long queues of people to purchase gas cylinders. A gas dealership store in Payagala received last cylinders after many days. People were in queue since this morning. There were long lines in Haliela at a gas store in which new stocks were unloaded.
With gas cylinders running out fast, people are resorting to kerosene stoves. But there is a shortage of kerosene as well.
Tensions erupted at a queue for kerosene at a filling station in Uvaparanagama. People had been in queue since yesterday. The filling station in Palava only received kerosene oil after about 2 months. Farmers were in queue to buy kerosene for their machines used for farming. The farmers said that the 500 rupee cap on buying kerosene is not practical, as the amount of kerosene issued under the limit isn't enough. People were also seen standing in long queues in Paliagoda to purchase kerosene. More people attempting to flee Sri Lanka nabbed.
Farmers are among one of the most affected communities in the country. They were also one of the first groups to be affected by the government's unsound decisions. However, despite the many hardships that they faced, our farmers continued to cultivate.
Potato and vegetable farmers in Boralanda spoke about various issues faced by them due to the prevailing situation in the country. What did this pompous, egoistic president and agriculture minister say in the past? They said that they will ensure that this organic fertilizer cultivation will be successful. This is the result of what you did. A packet of tomato seeds was priced at 780 rupees. That price increased to 920 rupees and then 1,560 rupees. Look at how the prices of seeds increased. This is the harvest that we reap from these seeds. This packet of carrot seeds that was once priced at 3,500 rupees is now 7,500 rupees. This packet of seeds that was 5,000 rupees is now 8,000 rupees. Gotabaya Rajapaksa must be held responsible for this. The former agriculture minister, who also spoke without any understanding of the subject, did not provide any solution to this. Although farmers in the country are battered by the shortage of fertilizer, agrochemicals and fuel, they continue to cultivate their lands. In addition to these issues, farmers are now faced with a new challenge. We previously reported that farmers in Badulla and Dehiyathakandya in Ampara have been infested with a species of caterpillar. A similar report came in from the Birisorowa village in Dehiyathakandya. Farmers point out that pests have destroyed about 300 hectares of their cultivations. Farmers point out that officials have failed to provide a solution to this issue. These pests have infested all of our cultivations. We have not encountered this pest before. We have no agrochemicals to save our cultivations from these pests. At least provide us some compensation for this. Prices of agrochemicals and fertilizer have increased. A sack of fertilizer is between 45,000 and 50,000 rupees. The damage caused by this pest is unimaginable.
Meanwhile, the Consumer Affairs Authority is conducting inspections and raids to crack down on traders selling rice at high prices.
Lanka is at risk of facing a food crisis in the coming months as people wait in queues for essentials. The local market is already facing a shortage of essential items like rice, leaving people in queues to buy what's available. The government had published a gazette this week to regulate the selling price of rice. The Consumer Affairs Authority carried out raids to crack down on traders who sell rice at rates higher than the maximum retail price. Officers had raided a store that had hoarded about 1,000 kilos of rice without releasing them to the market.
We found that some traders were selling rice at higher prices. We will take legal action against this.
Officers also inspected stores in many areas of Hambantota and informed traders of the regulations that are in place. They had taken legal action against 5 traders who failed to display the price on products such as rice. Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaraveera insists that Sri Lanka has enough rice stocks for the coming months.
Don't hoard stocks of rice by unnecessarily panicking and assuming that you won't have anything to eat. We have estimated paddy to be cultivated across 275 hectares for the Yala season, but I can responsibly say that farmers have cultivated more than that. That will be enough for consumption. We will have to import rice for 2 months only after that. There is no need to hoard stocks.
Ordinary people are facing the brunt of these issues. Our reporters visited shops in many areas to inquire into the prices of goods.
Imported potatoes cost 260 rupees or 280 rupees a kilo. Local potatoes cost about 380 to 400 rupees. Garlic is 700 or 800 rupees. Dal costs more than 600 rupees.
ලින්න බෝල රුපියල් 2400ට ගෑවේ අන්තිමව අසරණ වෙලා ඉන්නේ මිනිස්සු. මලමිනි වලදා ගන්න මිනි පෙට්ටි ගන්නත් පොලිමේ ඉන්න තමයි රටේ ජනතාවට වෙන්නේ.
A kilo of poultry feed that we prepared for 70 or 80 rupees is now 200 or 220 rupees. Due to the fertilizer crisis, we have only received about 70% of the total products into the market. The rest of the animal feed has to be imported. The cost of eggs have gone up to about 45 rupees. We will have to sell eggs at 50 rupees or 55 rupees in the future.
The Women for Freedom movement held a protest in Badulla to oppose the rising cost of living. Sri Lankan women have been affected by a tremendous burden. The worries that they face in the kitchen can't be explained. We are fed up of being in queues.
A protest dubbed Kitchen Lament was held at the Kohuala Junction for the second day this evening. News First Senator Senanayaka reports.
I'm reporting to you from the Kohuala Junction. Right now at this location, you will be able to witness something quite unique. Towards my left, there is a queue for fuel, and towards my right, a group of people are engaged in a protest. A protest what they called the Kitchen Lament. They're citing that the economic crisis, and as you can see, people who are waiting in queue to purchase fuel are also supporting this protest.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that he can't leave as a failed president, but we don't accept that. We are not ready to sacrifice our life, sacrifice our time, sacrifice our future just because an old man can feel good about himself.
There really doesn't seem to be a significant change in the politics of the country. So even though in the middle of the crisis, it looks like politics as usual, same wheeler dealing. So we really need a proper change. And the 21st Amendment is too late. The abolition of the presidency, there should be a clear timetable because it is a political crisis and not just an economic one.
A protest was also held opposite the residence of businessman Dhammika Pereira, who is to enter parliament through the national list.
The protesters began their demonstration opposite the Nelum Pokuna Theatre in Colombo. They opposed moves to appoint businessman Dhammika Pereira to parliament. They marched to the businessman's residence and continued their protest. Police officers had been deployed for security around his residence.
All thieves are entering parliament. In addition to the thugs, we now have ethanol dealers, drug dealers and casino kings also in parliament.
We reject this unlawful appointment of Dhammika Pereira. We need the government, we need the officials to respect the people's voice because we've already lost everything we can lose.
They're trying to get us used to this whole staying in line for gas, staying in line for medicine, staying in line to get our daily essentials. That's not right, that's not normal.
They will profit off this existing economic crisis. What do these businessmen do? They will exploit even more people, and that's not going to help us. That's not going to help our economic crisis.
The Sri Lankan Navy arrested a local multi-day fishing trawler with 36 people during a search operation carried out in the southeastern seas yesterday. The fishing trawler was suspected to be on an illegal migration attempt to a foreign country via sea. The vessel that set sail from Negombo had been stranded in sea for 5 days.
Among the apprehended suspects were 26 males, including 6 people involved in this racket, 5 females and 7 children. The fishing vessel used for this illegal act was also taken into custody by the Navy. Further inspections revealed that the multi-day trawler had a mechanical failure in its engine and the vessel was unsuitable for long voyages. The arrested suspects are residents of Jaffna, Vavuniya, Valachene, Chilau, Kalpitiya, Udapur, Jaila and Negombo. They were between the ages of 2 and 60. The suspects were produced before the Pothuwil Magistrates Court and were remanded until the 15th of this month.
News First with the people.
More news follows after this short commercial break. Stay tuned to News First. We will be right back.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙමෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප්පයක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටා.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප්පයක්.
එස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජලනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් රංගම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Time News on News First. We're moving on with more local news. India's Rahul Gandhi in a tweet says BJP's cronyism has now crossed Pork Strait and moved into Sri Lanka. The Indian National Congress was referring to the recent controversy over the award of a project to build a wind power plant in Mannar. Now, the chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board has withdrawn a statement he made over the project at the Committee on Public Enterprises.
The chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board had addressed a letter to the Committee on Public Enterprise and informed the committee that the statement he made regarding the wind power plant was a mistake. The chairman of the CEB, MC Ferdinando, had testified before COPE just days ago that he was told by the president that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was insisting that the energy investment projects be awarded to the Adani Group without calling for tenders. Issuing a statement shortly afterwards, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa rejected the allegations levelled by the chairman of the CEB. In the meantime, within 24 hours of making the statement, the chairman of the CEB, MC Ferdinando, retracted on what he said and withdrew his statement. He said that he was very emotional when the allegations were levelled at him at the Committee on Public Enterprise sessions on Friday. He added that he was under pressure at the COPE sessions and admitted that he had made a false statement. Speaking to News First, chairman of the CEB, MC Ferdinando, said that he was not put under any form of pressure by the president, the subject minister or the Indian embassy to withdraw his statement.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says he will bring a motion against the chairman of the CEB for violating parliamentary privilege.
He was testifying with a smile on his face. Look closely. He said that there was no food and that he was confused. That is a blatant lie. I believe that he was forced to withdraw his statement. I would like to ask Mr. Ferdinando, what right do you have to lie before the COPE in Parliament? That is a question on privilege. My privileges as a member of Parliament were violated. The privilege of everyone who voted against the amendment has been breached because of this lie. The privilege of 22 million people in this country has been violated. This is wrong. I will bring in a motion against Mr. Ferdinando over violating parliamentary privilege.
Now, member of COPE parliamentarian SM Marika has refused to accept the withdrawal of the statement made by the CEB chairman.
Requesting in writing for his statement to be withdrawn is not legal. He has already made that statement at the COPE hearing. As a member of COPE, I am of the opinion that the COPE committee cannot accept the withdrawal of the statement. On the other hand, he said that after the president informed him of this, he wrote to the secretary of the Ministry of Finance upon the instructions of the president. If that is the case, he cannot withdraw the letter that he sent to the secretary of the Ministry of Finance, and therefore he cannot withdraw his account of the subsequent incidents that unfolded. The chairman of the CEB has no legal right or power to withdraw the statement that he made at COPE. The COPE committee too does not have the power to accept the withdrawal of his statement. I must clearly state that we will take a decision on this matter when COPE convenes.
Leader of the Jatika Jana Balavege, Anura Kumara Dissanayaka, made these comments while addressing a conference in the Colombo district.
The people now believe that Ranil Wickremesinghe can save us from this crisis. The people believe that Ranil Wickremesinghe knows foreigners, and because of that we can get a loan. Just because you know a foreigner, you won't get a loan. Loans are given by the countries. We asked India, how are you going to loan money to Sri Lanka? They said one thing, we are giving you the money of the Indian people. We need a guarantee that we will get this money back. If we give you this money without any such guarantee, the people in India will send us home. Loans are not granted based on friendship. A foreigner may give Ranil Wickremesinghe some pocket money. So then what can be done? The credibility of our economy must be restored. It is only then that we will be able to obtain a loan. What is this credibility? It is a guarantee that he will be able to recover this loan in full. People think that when the richest person in the country comes into parliament, he will spend his own money. He is not going to spend his own money. The people think that they will, but they don't. This country needs to restore credibility in our economy and our political framework.
Now shifting your attention to news overseas. Russian shelling has caused a huge fire at a chemical plant in the key eastern city of Severodonetsk.
Severodonetsk has become the focal point of Russia's efforts to advance in eastern Ukraine. Severodonetsk governor had said that Ukraine remains in control of the Azot plant in the city. He added that he expects Russian forces to use all their efforts to try to capture the city either today or tomorrow. The governor did not say if there were any casualties and whether the blaze has been extinguished. Ukrainian officials estimate that as many as 800 civilians are hiding in underground bomb shelters at the Azot plant.
Now, China has warned the US that any attempt to make Taiwan independent from China will trigger military action by Beijing's forces.
Chinese Defense Minister Wei Fenghe met his US counterpart Lloyd Austin on the sidelines of an Asian Security Summit in Singapore. The Chinese minister had said splitting Taiwan from China would leave the Chinese military with no choice but to fight at any cost. The US Defense Secretary had said the US was committed to recognize Beijing as the sole government of China and opposing Taiwanese independence. The US has no official ties with Taiwan but does have a law which requires it to provide the island with the means to defend itself.
Drawing your attention back to news from here at home, the Sarva Pakshika Aragalakaru movement issued a statement regarding the alleged actions of the president.
The statement points out that made at the COPE hearing shows that Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who crippled Sri Lanka and has no mandate of the people, is now merely a puppet to serve the political needs of India and America. The statement thanks the Indian people for their support during these trying times, but also states that if the motive behind the support is to colonize Sri Lanka economically, the organization expresses their strong displeasure against the Indian government. Sarva Pakshika Aragalakaru in the statement says that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who is the most unsuccessful president in the history of the country, is now under the influence of foreign powers and is making decisions that adversely affect the people of Sri Lanka, as he has lost the support of the people and his family and is now seeking protection from these foreign nations. Further, the statement highlights the fact that the testimony of the chairman of the CEB cannot be taken slightly, as it reveals the true nature of global politics, and that if he has indeed misled COPE, action must be taken against him.
Well, with that, we wrap up news for tonight. Details of the stories and much more will be available on our website, www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First team, I'm Mariam Gunavijaya. Good night and take care.